With a growing interest of bans on suppressors in California, there is definitely a growing call to action to challenge some of these laws. So why not go right to the source? We've got the American Suppressor Association with us. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel today. That is right, we have the American Suppressor Association with us here. It's been an interesting talking point in California as far as challenging the laws that ban suppressors in California. Good opportunity to get an inside look at what that process actually ends up being like. With us today is Knox Williams, who is the Executive Director of the American Suppressor Association. Knox, thanks very much for being with us.
Kevin, thank you so much for having me, man. It's truly a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, as always, if you want to see more content like this, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. It really helps get this information as far out as it possibly can go. As always, we are continuing to try to educate people as much on the litigative, legislative, and cultural efforts of the Second Amendment in California as we possibly can. So, Knox, let's just kind of jump right into you a little bit before we jump into the topic here. You don't have as much gray as some of the people I talk to, yet you're the Executive Director for the American Suppressor Association. Can you give us a little backstory on yourself and your journey so far, and how do you get into that line of work?
Yeah, man, got into this line of work on accident, and the grays are coming in. It's like salt and red pepper beard here in just a little bit. But yeah, man, I got into the industry when I was young. When I was in college, I needed some beer money. So I worked for a company for $10 an hour doing QC and whatever they needed me to do for like 2-3 days a week. My junior and senior years in college. That was Advanced Armament Corp, which at the time back in 2009 was like the largest suppressor manufacturer in the world. When I graduated, they picked me up full time and quickly realized that there was nobody out there advocating for suppressors or for our interests. I wanted to change that. So we approached some of the existing nonprofits in the space and said, hey, will you help us push pro-suppressor reform at the state and federal levels? And you know, again, keep in mind, this is around 2010, 2011. The response that we received was, it's too controversial. Don't touch it. Okay. I disagree with you. So we're going to just go ahead and do it ourselves. So that was the impetus for us forming the American Suppressor Association. We formed in September of 2011. At the time, 3 companies signed on, AAC, Gemtech, and Silencer Co. And now we've grown to really represent the lion's share of the industry. We represent manufacturers, distributors, dealers, and consumers, and are the only organization that's focused on suppressor reform at the state and federal levels. And, you know, here we are 14 years in, and I love it, and we couldn't be more excited for what's up this year.
Well, I guess it's good when you love something, because that probably means you're going to continue doing it for a long time, and I can certainly appreciate that. Why suppressors, though? You know, that this is there's a certain group out. Well, I don't necessarily want to say a group, but at least a segmentation of the population that could look at a suppressor just like any other accessory, whether it's a flamethrower or a grenade launcher or just something that they saw in a James Bond movie. What is it that is so important about suppressors, or I guess to say, what's the intrinsic value that you see in a suppressor for a firearm?
The intrinsic value is very simple: hearing protection. Period, hard stop. There's a lot of other ancillary benefits and reasons why I choose to shoot suppressed, but chief among them by a mile is hearing protection. My mother's an audiologist, so I grew up like very hearing conscious. When I went on my first hunt when I was 15, she gave me a set of custom earplugs and said, hey, wear these. If you don't, basically, I'm going to kill you when you get home. And I saw the deer. I chose not to put them in because I didn't want to miss the shot, and my ears rang for 3 days, right? And like that's something that doesn't have to happen. Right, and one of the primary goals that I have, and organizationally we have, is making sure that the next generation of shooters that come up, they don't sacrifice their hearing because they love to shoot and because they choose to exercise their Second Amendment rights.
Would you say that you have to deal with this taboo of like the let's just call it the assassin taboo, somebody who wants to be able to sneak around and use something like a suppressor to, you know, go undetected or anything like that? Is that something that you have to deal with in the day-to-day work as far as advocating for them?
All the time. And the word that I would use to describe those are mischaracterizations and misunderstandings, and a lot of willful ignorance at this point. One of the most effective tools that we have when we're pushing policy is inviting people out to the range and saying, hey man, don't take my word for it. Let's line, a half dozen guns up, different calibers, everything from 22 to 308, 45, 9mm, 5.56, and a 12 gauge shotgun. Let's shoot them unsuppressed. Let's put cans on them and let's shoot them suppressed. And then let's have an informed conversation about it. And universally, when we do that, people take a step back, even our most vehement opposition, and you can tell that they rethink a lot of their position on it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to agree with us or that they will stop pushing anti-suppressor narratives, but they at least have to acknowledge the fact that, you can call it a silencer, you can call it a suppressor, you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't eliminate the noise of a gunshot. And even with suppressors, guns are still really loud, right? It's a lot safer, it's a lot less loud, but it's still very loud. It just takes that dangerous noise level and makes it less dangerous.
So what is it exactly? I mean, if you can you go into the science of this, of what a suppressor actually does? You're saying that it's still loud when you shoot it, but it takes dangerous, loud noise and makes it less dangerous. What's the science behind that, and what does it actually mean?
So there's a lot of variables at play, right? Caliber, type of gun, is it a single shot? Is it semi-automatic? What's the barrel length? All that kind of stuff factors into the overall sound level that a gunshot produces. But at the end of the day, you have basically a controlled explosion, and explosions are really loud. The way that sound levels work, any exposure to any unsuppressed gunshot, if you don't have hearing protection of some sort, be it earplugs, earmuffs, or a suppressor, you are permanently damaging your hearing. It's not a question of if, it's really to what extent. Different people are going to be susceptible on different levels based on a host of variables, and it's way too much for us to get into in this conversation. But people should know that if you're not taking active measures to protect your hearing, when you shoot, you are causing permanent, irreparable hearing damage. And that doesn't matter if you have perfect hearing, if you're already deaf, it can get worse. So anytime that you're pulling a trigger, you're exposing your ears to a noise level that is just too loud to be safe. And one of the most effective ways to mitigate that is by putting a suppressor which controls the noise at the source. Unlike earplugs and earmuffs, which are great and valuable tools that people should employ, they don't do anything at the source. It's dependent upon the individual wearing them and getting a proper seal, which is very difficult to do. Suppressors muffle it for everyone around them in the same way that a car muffler works. So there's a lot of really positive benefits to using a suppressor. Certainly if you use them in concert with other hearing protection.
Well, it certainly feels a little bit different when it's when the conversation is under the guise of safety, as opposed to some of the taboos that currently exist out there, which is obviously why we try to have conversations like these, get that education so that others who might have these conversations at home can be a little bit more informed as they have them. I'm a little curious. You've been integral in completely legalizing suppressors in 3 states in the union. Another 19 states, they're now legal to use in the field. What is the litigative or legislative process that you've gone through in those other states in order to make that happen?
Yeah, man. So when we formed in 2011, we had a pretty steep learning curve, right? For us, it was trying to figure out how do we advance our issues. And at the state level, the primary issues that we have are we want suppressors to be legal to own and possess in all 50 states. Currently, you can own and possess them in 42, California being one of the 8 that prohibits them. And we want people to be able to hunt with them in all 50 states, so use them in the field for any lawful purpose. Currently, you can hunt with suppressors in 41 of those states, but when we started, 19 fewer states allowed it. So we were at 22? So we've really been effective at changing that. And that's working with legislatures and with state agencies, because some states control them through the regulations, some states control them by law. And to be able to go in and identify, all right, who owns the code section or the statute that prohibits these activities, and how do we go about changing it? Every state's a little bit different, but the arguments are all the same. And for us, our approach has been one of complete transparency. It's taking these folks out to the range and then having those policy discussions. And for us, it's truly changed the game. And it's been a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, there's certainly been, you identified California as one of the 8 states that has an outright ban. There's definitely been a positive trend of Second Amendment litigation and legislation, just as far as what we've been able to take in as an opposition to a legislature that likes to see anti-Second Amendment legislation. I'm curious, Are you taking aim at these 8 other states? What's on the horizon for California as far as you see it from the American Suppressor Association?
Yeah, so the basic understanding that we have is we think that we've more or less hit a wall with our state level legislative policies, right? Of the 8 states that suppressors are currently prohibited, we really don't have much of an in with the legislatures to be able to effectively pass legislation that we think could actually get signed into law. So for us, we're pivoting towards litigation. We have an active suit in Illinois, Anderson v. Raoul, that the American Suppressor Association Foundation and Silencer Shop partnered with to basically challenge the constitutionality of a statewide ban on suppressors. That's been 2 years in the queue. We had a hearing in the middle of January, about a week ago at the time of filming, and we're basically told, hey, we'll get another update middle of April. So as you know, litigation just takes a long time, moves at a glacial pace. But for us, we really see litigation as the way to get suppressors 50-state legal. So our plans right now are partnering with a group in New Jersey to file another lawsuit in New Jersey, and potentially partnering with CRPA to file a similar lawsuit in California. That would give us 3 lawsuits, all active, all challenging the constitutionality of a suppressor ban in those states. And we think that that gives us a high likelihood of winning some of those cases, likely resulting in a split circuit that would give us the best odds to be able to petition up to the Supreme Court. And that's where the fight is. We want suppressors to be recognized under the Second Amendment, and we think that this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the legislative efforts, which, you know, you kind of have to get individualized, but fortunately, the litigation can end up kind of being cumulative. So, you know, you get into a couple of circuit courts, even if you get opposing ideas or opposing opinions, that moves it up the chain even faster to where you would get a decision from the Supreme Court. Definitely something to look forward to, though, especially in California, being able to partner and bring a lawsuit here in California and get that challenge going. We have seen some judges in the federal district court that are definitely supporters of what the Second Amendment means as far as we see it. That would seem like a likely winner, so definitely looking forward to that. I guess to ask as a final question, not just in California, but for the nation as a whole, what do you see as the landscape looking into 2025?
I think for the gun world, it's one of excitement and optimism. I don't remember the last time, 2017 was probably the last time I was this optimistic. But I think that we've got momentum on our side. We have got a tremendous opportunity to make a lot of gains. And I think that it's on us to be able to go out and execute. And that's where the folks that are listening to this, we need help. CRPA needs help. ASA needs help. And if we can partner with y'all to go claw back and win back these rights, I think that we all win.
And we're certainly going to be pushing for that, but I do really appreciate you sitting down with me and sharing this. Look forward to what the future holds. And just again, thank you for taking the time and coming on with us today.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And guys, if you like videos like this, please drop a comment below if you want to see a challenge in California on the ban on suppressors and see if we can get that rolling. Drop that in the comment below. Let's get that going. But if you like videos like this and you want to continue to see them, please, once again, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. Really helps with the algorithms to push this as far and wide as it possibly can go. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.